Welcome to my channel, detailing events throughout the decades. 2005. Hurricane Katrina. It was the early morning of August 29, 2005, when Hurricane Katrina struck the Gulf Coast of the United States. The storm made landfall, and had a Category 3 rating. It brought with it winds of around 100 to 140 miles per hour, and stretched over a 400-mile area. The storm did a great deal of damage, and levee breaches led to massive flooding in throughout the area. Hundreds of thousands of people in Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama were forced from their homes. Hurricane Katrina had first formed over the Bahamas on August 23, and meteorologists soon warned people in the Gulf Coast that a major storm was coming their way. The day before Katrina hit, New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin issued the city's first-ever mandatory evacuation order. By nightfall, around 80% of the city's population had been evacuated, but tens of thousands of other people decided to wait out the storm in their homes. When Katrina hit New Orleans in the early hours of the morning, the storm surge overwhelmed many of the city's already unstable levees and drainage canals. By 9 a.m., low-lying places in the area were under so much water that people had to scramble onto rooftops to reach safety. The Coast Guard rescued around 34,000 people after the storm hit. Food and shelter was offered to those in need. Many people took shelter in the New Orleans Convention Center, or in the Louisiana Superdome. However, after Katrina, the Federal Emergency Management Agency known as FEMA, took days to establish operations in New Orleans, and seemed to be unprepared for the disaster. People quickly reported that the federal government were slow in meeting people's needs who had been affected by Katrina. Officials including George W. Bush seemed unaware at the time just how bad things had become in New Orleans after Hurricane Katrina. Hurricane Katrina had killed almost 2,000 people and affected 90,000 square miles of the United States. It is reported that around 1 million people were displaced after the storm. By September 1, it is estimated that around 30,000 people were seeking shelter at the convention center. Food and water shortages quickly became an issue. It wasn't until September 2 that a military presence was established, and the National Guard mobilized to distribute food and water. It was estimated that around 80% of structures in New Orleans sustained water damage. Over 204,000 homes were damaged or destroyed. By September 5, residents were allowed back to inspect what was left of their homes, but by the next day, the mayor had ordered all people to be evacuated again due to contaminated water and unlivable conditions. By 2009, many homes were still left in devastation. 10 years after Katrina, and New Orleans was still struggling to rebuild and draw people back to the area. Some areas of New Orleans have been rebuilt and are said to be thriving. However, other areas not so lucky still resemble a land that has been forgotten. Today, there are said to be fewer African Americans living in New Orleans than before Hurricane Katrina. Nearly 1 in 3 residents did not return back after the storm. Many areas today look very similar to what they had looked before Katrina had struck. The Lakeview area in 9th Ward was rebuilt back to its former glory. The Lakeview area was filled with very determined residents who worked hard to reopen the schools and businesses. The 9th Ward was rebuilt, thanks to the help of Brad Pitt and his Make It Right Foundation, who built new green affordable homes in the area for people to return to. Sadly, however, it is reported that even in 2018, over 1,000 people still remain homeless after Hurricane Katrina. We forever remember those thousands who died as a result of Hurricane Katrina, and all those who were left affected by it. May you always be remembered. Thank you for watching and learning about these events throughout history. Please subscribe to my channel to view other events throughout the decades.